So, hi everyone, I'm Teacher Jay here, and today with me is Michaela. She's a friend of old date. She's been helping me, supporting me since I decided to adventure in this suffering but very rewarding English teacher career. And the reason why I asked Michaela to join us today for this interview is that I see many of my students struggling with learning English, and I have played my part as a teacher, trying to tell them all the tricks and secrets, giving them all the necessary tools to improve them, to improve their English, their accent. But it's always good to have a second opinion, a second point of view, especially from a native English teacher who also learn other languages, including Portuguese. I'll be asking Michaela a few questions that I hope will help you understand better the whole process behind a second language acquisition. To start, Michaela, I would like you to introduce yourself to those who don't know you yet.
Okay, my name is Michaela Bertrand, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, originally. I've traveled to Brazil and Italy as an English teacher, and I enjoyed that so much, but I'm now back in my hometown of Phoenix.
Nice. You're very famous around here, I should say, especially among our Hear You Talk community, so they already know you. But for those who don't know you, that was a fairly good start. What was the first method that you tried for learning Portuguese? Did you work out at first?
Well, at first, I thought that Portuguese would just absorb into me and that it would be fairly easy. So I didn't work hard in the beginning because I thought after a while it would just come. And I think that's true, but I also think that's a very slow method of learning anything. So after about a year is when I really started to feel like frustrated that I could not communicate better and more. So that's when I started to be more goal-oriented, and I started to have more activities for myself and really push myself to learn faster and learn more every day.
What were the techniques that you used? You mostly read, speak, try by speaking, by listening, or it was a mix of everything? Did you focus on any? Did you focus on any specific skill?
Yes. In the beginning, after I started using more activities every day, I started with flashcards, which were helpful for me. I like to learn by flashcards because I'm very experienced from the school setting of learning things with flashcards. So those worked well for me. Also labeling things in my house so I could see them every day, putting poems or songs on my bathroom mirror so that I was like looking at things all the time. And of course, trying to have more conversations. I started reading a book. I started practicing more and pushing myself more to use it with native speakers, which I think is a very critical element in learning how to communicate, because you can do a lot by yourself, but I think to fully feel confident, you have to have exposure with native speakers and put yourself in that very difficult, stressful, sometimes situation of having a conversation when you're very uncomfortable and you're nervous, but it really helps. And I think that's like the key element for me and for most to feel confident learning a language and speaking a language.
What methods and techniques that you used for learning Portuguese that you think it would be worth for students trying?
I think everybody learns differently, so I think it's important for people to try lots of different things and then incorporate their favorites, like just 5 to 10 minutes every day. Whether it's listening to music and looking at lyrics, or just going on Reddit if you like that, and trying to understand some kind of conversation happening, or flashcards, like what worked for me, or reading a book, or there's so many ways that you can access English, and movies are another great one. Whatever it is, just as long as you do it a little bit every day, I think that's the most important part, because that really gives your brain time to absorb and to process these things, because even when you're not thinking about it, your brain is still working on these problems. Like when you sleep, your brain is like making connections. So if you keep it on your mind, and every morning or every evening you watch an episode of Friends in English, or you do something that like brings English into your brain, you will learn much faster than if you take an hour class once or twice a week.
Yes, that's what I try to tell them every class, to try to use their time better, to try to practice more. The secret is always in practice. As you said, you always have to give it a kind of a maintenance for your learning process. It's something that cannot be stopped, or you do something today, but tomorrow and after tomorrow you do nothing and all this stuff. So it has to you have to keep a frequency of activities.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question: do you think culture plays a great role in the language acquisition?
I think it does. I think that language is a huge part of culture, and it also reflects culture, because a language was created and born from a culture. So I think that they're like just two pieces of a puzzle, or it's an organic growing thing. And I think culture is also a really good way for you to get excited about language learning. So I think it's a critical element. Like, if you really want to take a trip to New York, you can use that excitement to like inspire your English learning. And I think enthusiasm is really how you start to learn faster, because if it is not fun, if it feels like a boring chore, it's not going to be something that happens quickly. It's going to be hard work. I think if you use cultural elements to inspire your English learning, it happens faster and it feels easier. It feels more exciting, more fun, and less like hard work.
Yes, definitely. Something I always get myself thinking, and always, not just me, but most of my students think, they find some pattern in language that's very, very related to culture, some idiomatic expressions, collocations, something that for us doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. For example, the simple question, how old are you, is totally different from our grammar point, because it's so weird, it doesn't the words doesn't match for us. It sounds strange to say these words together, and the students all get themselves thinking, oh my gosh, it's nothing to do, if you know what I mean. Have you ever got yourself in this situation with Portuguese? You heard an expression or a sentence or anything, like a word or a idiomatic expression that said, oh, it doesn't make sense for us, but it's something related to Brazilian culture, Portuguese culture, so I have to just accept that and know how to say this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of good examples of that. I know one that is fun to do in classes is there's the Brazilian expression, like, what is it? What's your beach? Or like they'll say, oh, that's my beach. É minha praia, right?
Yes.
And for me, obviously, that there's no cultural reference. It makes not a lot of sense to me. I understand how for Brazil that has like so much beautiful beach, it makes sense. But in English, we would say it's my cup of tea or not my cup of tea. So there's a very different, it's like equal, but with very different objects. And so that's a good example of one where we have a very similar expression, but it's different based on culture.
Yes, yes. And also, not just culture, but also the language behind it, because you know, English, it's a language that has come from other languages like Latin and Saxon and all the other languages. So you have also to consider that. For example, the way we ask, how old are you? Quantos anos você tem? If you were to translate literally, would be how many years do you have? Does this sound weird or strange for you if somebody asks you like this? How many years do you have?
Yes, it would be a little strange. And I think, obviously, I would understand that, but I think some English speakers would not. Some English speakers would be confused at that question because it's not the common way to ask that. And so it's like, it's a small difference, but it's an important difference to many English speakers.
Okay. Do you think students should realize, I mean, this is something I've been thinking about since I started teaching, since I decided to get into this adventure, as I told at the beginning. Do you think students should realize that the teacher can't be 100% held accountable for the students' progress? I mean, we as teachers can help them, support them, guide them, but I mean, no, the hard work, when I say hard work, I mean tons of listening, tons of reading, writing, all those things that must be done, otherwise they won't be successful in their learning process. I guess they can't understand that this is something that is just about them. It's only about them. And do you have any thoughts on that? Go on.
I think it's a lot like a gym membership, where sometimes people will invest money to be part of a gym, but they have to be the people to do the exercise, to go to the gym every day or every week or however often. And as much energy as you put into exercising, that's how your progress you'll see progress because of how many times you go and how much energy you put in. And I think it's the same with English or many subjects. I think you can pay money for a class, but if you're not putting in the effort and the work that it takes, and if you're not taking your own time and energy to do homework and also to investigate cultural aspects or to practice on your own time, then I think the teacher can't do it for you. Just like an instructor at the gym, they cannot like exercise for you. They cannot take weights from you. They cannot build your muscles unless you are the one there doing the work and spending the time and energy. So it can be frustrating because I think some people, they pay that money or even they download an app on their phone or they do these things and they think, okay, well, if I download the app, then it will just do this for me. Or if I pay a teacher, then the teacher will do this for me. But really, it has to be something you do for yourself to benefit yourself. And if you don't have that motivation, then nothing in the world is going to help you learn English.
Yes, definitely. So we come to the end of our first interview. I really like to thank you, Michaela, for being willing to give your special attention to this matter. I really appreciate that. Thank you for all the support you're giving to the Hear Your Talk community. You know that you're a great part of that, and you know we love you. And do you have a final piece of advice to the students? You know, something you always thought wisely while you learn Portuguese, not just Portuguese. How many languages do you speak so far?
I speak Italian, Portuguese, and Spanish. My Spanish is a little rocky sometimes, but I get by. And I recently have been looking into Hawaiian, which is a super interesting language, even though it's maybe not the most practical language, but it's super interesting to me. So I really love languages, and I think that has helped, and culture too. I think culture and language are just, they're so interesting, and for me, that has helped inspire me to learn. Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to find some love in a language in order to learn. So there's so many ways you can find that love. You just have to find one thing about, an attitude or a movie or something, and you find that love, and that will inspire you. And I think that can be very helpful on your language learning journey.
Thank you very much again. It was an amazing pleasure to have you here with us today, and I hope we can have another chat talking about any other topic that may come out that would help our students to have a more efficient progress while learning.
I would love to talk to you again, and thanks for chatting, Jay. As always, I wish you and your students a lot of luck, and I hope to see you again soon.
Okay, bye.